one of the biggest challenges for making Hijrah is the financial piece. I like to have the freedom to be able to move around. How long is that process going to take me?
There are 3 characteristics that will allow anybody who wants to be successful as an entrepreneur get a leg up.
Entrepreneurship to some people is intimidating. You need to start a business, or you should start a business. To some people, that seems far off.
Excuses are poor reasons to be useless. And I'm married and I have children. There's no way I'm going to look them in their eye and say, yes, all these opportunities were out there, but dad didn't even try. If you have an excuse for every reason, then that's on you. You can choose to see the bright, you can choose to see the dark. And look, you got a 40-inch vertical, I'm gonna know how to jump like that. Right. Show me how. There are businesses that make millions doing just that. Right. Businesses that make millions teaching people how to jump rope and get in shape. Jumping rope, canning foods, it exists. Right. Knitting, it exists. That's the difference when it comes to those who are financially successful and those who are not. You can have a high-paying job, but what happens if it crashes tomorrow?
Get your copy of the Hijrah Handbook at book.makehijrah.com. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In this episode, we sit down with someone we know and trust, Coach Nazir. He's been in the online business game for over 20 years. He's been mentored by some of the top entrepreneurs and marketers out there. So he has developed a 6-week program called Make It, Market It, Monetize It. It's a real roadmap for building an online business from the ground up. So you might ask, why is this important for the Muhajir? Because when you make Hijrah, many times you leave behind your safety net. You can't continue to depend on unstable job markets or local opportunities. You have to own your income, and you have to be self-reliant. Online business for the Muhajir isn't optional anymore. It's about survival. Let's jump in with Coach Nadir. We've known each other for a long time, and the majority of the time that I've known you, you've been an entrepreneur. And even if you had to work a job, you still had the entrepreneurial spirit. So tell us a little bit about your journey and what you do.
One of the things that I wanted to focus on after becoming Muslim and having my family is I want to live in a Muslim world, Muslim country. Now, I didn't have any mentors or anybody that actually did anything like that. So this is brand new. This is new territory. I had to really figure it out. My parents came from having me when they were 16 years old. And they only gave me the financial education that they had, which is go to school, get good grades, and get a good job. That's not working out for them. Didn't work out for them, nor for most people these days. We're less than 30% of the population that does have a degree, even work in their field or have any type of sustainable lifestyle. I wanted to make sure if I'm gone, my money was not limited to where I was at. I drove a school bus, CNC operator. I drove a taxi cab before, a number of traditional blue-collar things, right? But the transition came about with really diving deeper into entrepreneurship. And of course, coming from a time where we went from the birth of the internet, in the mid-90s, and I'm sure probably older than half the audience, since I'm older now than half the population that exists. But from that time to today, that time people were scared to put their information online. It was just kind of a message board or whatnot. Then, of course, Y2K and this boom. So looking at the progression of opportunities. See, poor, I learned, was the mindset. So passing over opportunities repeatedly. And I knew there was a new landscape, there's a new thing, there's a new deen, there's a new way of life for my family and I, and there's something that I want to get. There had to be a way to really achieve that. So looking online and starting some businesses online back in early 2000s, getting a lot of experience, and then taking ideas that I put together with my family, with how we were raising our children, that led to other entrepreneurship opportunities is what changed the game. But the main thing I had to learn is I had to get out of my own way.
Entrepreneurship to some people is intimidating. When you say you need to start a business or you should start a business, or to some people that seems far off, So you mentioned earlier that you did drive a taxi, you did work in a factory, you did do these things, but something must have clicked inside to say it has to be something better. How did you go about learning how to start your own business and how to become an entrepreneur?
One of the privileges of poverty, and I know that that's almost sound like an oxymoron, right? But one of the privileges of poverty is that you learn that it's not about your resources, it's about your resourcefulness. Since my parents were limited and giving me old information that didn't even work for them, they just didn't really know what to do. Thankfully, I was able to at least view somebody who had some a semblance of financial freedom, which is my great uncle. He sold watermelons, came from down south, couldn't read or write in his 30s. Now he's a multimillionaire, owns hundreds of acres of land, owns a great business, a lot of real estate and so on, right? But he pulled me to the side one day when I was looking at these guys who came up to the watermelon stand. They had their jewelry on, the BMW and all this stuff. You could tell they were dope dealers. Right. I'm on the south side of Chicago at the time. And he saw me looking at them. And after they left, he said, did I like the car? And I'm like, yeah, of course. That was nice. It's either a Beamer or a Benz, whatever. And he pulled me to the side and he said, look, he said, I could buy 5 Rolls Royces cash. It's not about being flamboyant and showing all this stuff or showing jewelry. And it's not about any of that. It's about taking care of your family. He said, now, I couldn't read and write till I was in my 30s, but I can count money. That stuck with me because I didn't know anybody that, I didn't think I knew anybody that really had their finances together in that level. I was amazed back then, somebody making $10,000 a month, thinking that was like big money. But I recognized I didn't have the same opportunity as many of the people that I went to school with, high school with or whatnot. They had either come from money or had different college funds and all that kind of stuff. So the privilege of poverty mean that I need to do something else. And I wasn't really interested in schooling the way it's set up. I mean, John Taylor Gatto talks about it best in his book, Weapons of Mass Destruction. This is the teacher of the year for several years in a row. He talks about the conditioning that comes with schooling. And I'm gonna let the audience know right now, look, Mark Twain said it best in a quote. He said, never let schooling interfere with your education. So I had some mentors that saw more of me than I saw myself at the time after I had become Muslim. And I was open to learning and changing and raising my family differently. And they told me basically the same thing that was the very first part of Revelation. Read in the name of your Lord who created you. Now, of course, they didn't say that. They weren't even Muslims. But read. So I was told, look, there's this book called Think and Grow Rich. Now, I encourage people to read it. Now, the original version, not the current version that they change around and put other stuff in there and everything else, but the original version, especially because this is an entire chapter dedicated to the Prophet ﷺ. And it was dealing with making Hijrah and persistence. So that caught my eye, that a book in the early 1900s that was written by Napoleon Hill, was commissioned by one of the first billionaires in the steel industry, Andrew Carnegie. He gave him access to 500 of his best friends and cohorts, I guess they're not necessarily best friends, but other rich folks. And his study over 20 years was to go ahead and amalgamate the principles that they had all across the board that made them successful. He came away with 13 principles. Now, wouldn't you like to know what 13 principles are? Or do you want to go ahead and spend 20, 25 years of your life interviewing other people to go ahead and do it? Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm a strong believer in, so hey, the copycat as long as you copy the right cat.
Right.
So learning these lessons in a very short amount of time through a book like that, or Rich Dad, Poor Dad, so I had to invest in myself. That's all self-education. It didn't cost anything. You could literally go to the library and get these books. Right. But the difference is, my mentor asked me, he said, Nadir, what's the difference between somebody who's illiterate and somebody who chooses not to read? Mm. And he told me, well, the person who's illiterate, at least they have an excuse. Right. But the person who chooses not to read, meaning not to learn, right, they're being poor by choice, again, passing over opportunities repeatedly. Mm. So I knew that he said, you need to change your mind. Mm. And that's where it set me on a journey to be like, okay, I don't have all this other stuff, so what else is out there? Right. Hence, I started a journey, and when I saw that my great uncle was making all that money, and he was making multiple 6 figures from Memorial Day to Labor Day, talking about from May to June, just within a short span of a few months, I'm like, something has to give. Mm. And that's when I was like, I can do this, because it doesn't matter where you're from. I was told by the time you're 21, you'll be locked up or dead. Heard this over and over and over again until, of course, I became Muslim, changed my life around. But I knew my opportunities were limited. Right. And if you are working a job, again, nothing necessarily wrong with starting there, but it's not necessarily the best place to finish when you look at the stats.
If you're listening right now and you know deep down that you need to figure out how to earn online, this is your moment. Click the link in the description to learn more and sign up. Don't wait until things get tight. Get ahead now. One of the most asked questions about Hijrah, or one of the biggest objections, is how you're going to sustain yourself once you leave your home country. Because many people Even if you're there, it's your country, so you can go work in a factory, or you can do whatever, go apply for jobs or whatever. So people can't see Hijrah because of this point.
I knew that I couldn't drive a school bus somewhere else in the country. No, I couldn't be moving appliances. No, I'm not going to be doing CNC machine work or competing in the local economy. So I need to do something different.
Right.
And then I experimented, and alhamdulillah, we're gonna get into some of those details and some of those options. But the difference for me than many people say, oh, it's hard. Here's the facts. Everything is hard till you do it. The thing is that many times we don't reflect on our lives and our successes. See, learning how to walk was hard, but you don't remember how to do that. I mean, you remember how to do it, but you don't remember your struggle. Right. Learning how to drive a car. It was hard at first. How to get on a bike. You might have scraped a knee. You might have cried. All this stuff was hard at first. And the first time you do it is going to be the worst because it's your first. But you're going to get better over time. That's the point. So if we understand the structure, you tie your camel to trust in Allah. Right. That's the main part. It's not supposed to be easy. We're going to be tested in all these types of things. Now, the good part is you choose your hard. What's harder for me was not being able to make Hijrah. What's hard for me is not doing something for the next generation. It's to allow them to sit and fester in the West, to go ahead with their agendas that they have for us. Because if you don't plan, you fail to plan, if you will, then you plan to fail. So that was harder for me to see. It was hard for me to see that I'm not even trying. I'm not taking the effort. That I'm thinking Allah Ta'ala is not going to make a way. That's an excuse. And I know that excuses are poor reasons to be useless. So if I could learn these same principles, principles don't stop. And principles work for Coach Nazir, but they're not going to work for you. Yeah, gravity is going to work for both of us, whether or not you believe in it. You know what I'm saying? Radiation, it's going to work whether or not you believe. Light, whether or not you believe in it, it's still going to work. So the difference is choose your hard. Either your hard is going to work, depending on somebody else, using your muscles, wasting a lot of your time, never really getting ahead, or learning better paths and ways to get things done to accomplish your ultimate goal.
Since I've been in the Muslim world, I've worked a job, I've started businesses, and by far the most fulfilling thing for me personally was having business and having some time freedom and some resource freedom as well. Most of the time when you try to work in these countries, in some places the salaries are good for the place, and in some cases you'll end up struggling. Egypt is an example of that, where you may end up struggling. You don't get enough, or you get enough to get by. I prefer entrepreneurship over employment, but employment is definitely an option for some people.
There are 3 characteristics that will allow anybody who wants to be successful as an entrepreneur get a leg up. That first thing is you have to have a burning desire. That means you pretty much have to be ambitious. You have to want something or desire something more. Number 2, you must be willing to work. The fact of the matter is, look, the only place that work comes, or success comes before work, is in the dictionary. That's it. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some effort. But that third thing I found is the most important. You must be teachable and coachable. If you have an excuse for every reason, then that's on you. You can choose to see the bright, you can choose to see the dark. A person can have whatever they fight for. So if they fight for their limitations, keep it. You're grown. You listen to this podcast, you're likely grown. You're 18 or over. You're responsible for your decisions. Now, when it comes to entrepreneurship, does it take a special type of person? It takes a person that has a burning desire, willingness to work, and teachable and coachable. Now, some people, it's easier and better for them to have jobs. They like that, no problem. As long as you have something that's able to sustain you while you're not around. All right. Now, what I mean by that is there's some people in the IT field where it's fine. But what happens if you lose a job? You get downsized. They don't like it, or there's turbulence in the area, or they don't need you anymore, or AI replaces you. You know what I'm saying? There are risks, and there's risk with businesses as well. The difference is ownership and control. I prefer to have more control over my time, what I do, what I don't do, and have leverage. That's the difference when it comes to those who are financially successful and those who are not. You can have a high-paying job, but what happens if it crashes tomorrow? What happens if you get sick? See, it's said that a healthy man has a whole bunch, thousands of wishes. A sick man has but one. You know, and if we know that the Prophet ﷺ said 2 things that are abused by mankind and anything else is health and spare time. So for me, I wanted to be able to have something that benefit my family that did not limit me geographically to any place. You can literally come, for example, I have 10 biological children, right? Before I had 10 biological children, say back in 2012, I wrote a book. This is the book, Path to $1 Million. All right. It doesn't matter if the number is too big for some people or if it's not big enough for some people. This makes it easy with easy math. So, for example, people are asking us and picking our brains about parenting. So I started Outstanding Muslim Parents, all right, to really empower more people than just sitting there and taking somebody to lunch and talking this and that. We wanted to organize it, and I was learning and constantly learning and growing my educational journey at the time and do something online. So this book came about, right? Muslims Parenting on Purpose. Short book, less than 100 pages. But this is an asset. So when it comes to business, one of the first things you have to understand is a very important and powerful sentence that I learned from Daniel Priestley. Income follows assets. Income follows assets. So if you have assets out there, that's going to bring you income, right? Duh. But if you don't, your only asset is you putting in work, then you need to get up off your assets and make sure you create some assets. So for example, path to $1 million. If a person wants to earn $1 million, which I think is a noble goal for what it will make of them, this is one way to do it. You create a book, make a book of something that someone has asked you about, something you learned about that people want to learn from you. Now listen, people say, I don't know what to do. Millions of dollars have been generated in what's called the knowledge commerce industry. This is my favorite way to generate income, the knowledge commerce industry. We've been doing it forever. Schools have been doing it forever. Unfortunately, many people have been left in a scam, meaning they're still confused about money. That's what scam stands for. So books, one of the first info products. You have a book and it pays you $20 profit. Well, you have to sell 50,000 of those in order to make $1 million. Sounds like a huge number. If you don't know how to market, don't know how to do sales, maybe you should learn how to market and sales so you can get to 50,000. Or what about this? What if you sell a book that's $20, but the book also has a course? Just add another zero. So you have a course that's $200. Now, instead of selling 50,000 copies, now you sell 5,000. 5,000 is 10 times easier, 10 times less than 50,000. So it definitely should be easier. But what if you even put more into that course and you created something that's $2,000? Well, now $2,000, how many do you have to sell to make $1 million? Well, 500, a lot less than 50,000, right? Or if you may have a retreat or a mastermind or something really on a significant level of 20,000. And people are paying 20,000, even more than 20,000 for coaching and many other things because they're looking at the result, not the price. And with 20,000, how many do you need to sell to make $1 million? 50. That's path to $1 million. Now, of course, it's easier said than done because it takes work, but you choose your hard. Is that an option at your job? Probably not. Now, the question comes that I'm sure you're ready to ask me is like, okay, well, what if a person doesn't feel they have something to sell or something they don't know? Again, we all have offers. And offers something that you sell. Most people only offer their time. They say, okay, pay me X amount per year. So they make a contract. Annual contract. This is my employment agreement. This is how much I get paid. I get paid weekly or weekly. You know what I'm saying? Bi-weekly, annual, whatever it may be. And this is what my salary or my pay is for the year. And this is how I'm going to deliver it traditionally by hours, 8 hours a day or whatever else. It is what it is. And again, that takes your life because it's bits of your life that gets taken. But that's one path that people who traditionally aren't financially secure, financially free get told. But there are other paths and opportunities, clearly. The Prophet ﷺ let me know and let all of us know that there are 3 things that follow us after we die. So far as that can stack up as good deeds. 1, righteous children that pray for you. Now, parenting. It's important to be very intentional because I want some righteous children that pray for me, right? And then, of course, there's sadaqah jariyah in the form of knowledge that you put out that benefits people, that continues to benefit people after you're gone, as long as it's benefiting people. Then there's money that you spent or invested in something that continues to benefit people after you're gone. I want to stack up as much as I can because I understand I'm going to be dead a lot longer than alive. And in doing so, by creating assets that outlive you, you have the ability to do that. Whether that's a book or a course or videos or whatever it may be. So it was bigger than me. So I had to choose my hard, either get in front of a camera, take your skills that you learned, being in entrepreneurship, especially in network marketing, how to lead, how to sell, how to speak in front of audiences and stuff like that, and utilize it for Hijrah purposes. Now you're not limited with being over here living in this country. Now you get paid in this currency, which currently is strong. And now the money that you're actually saving, because you're not wasting it on the traditional rent and the food stuff that are going out of control with inflation in the West, you can utilize for investing or living a higher quality of life. That was important to me.
So let's move on, man, and talk a little bit about the program you developed. I know you personally, so I know if you put something together that is with good intent, and you really seek to help people benefit. So when it comes to your program, tell us a little bit about what people can get out of it.
Oh, indeed. And I absolutely agree. See, here's the thing. When I talk about how in the characteristics that are necessary to be successful, burn desire, willingness to work, and to be teachable and coachable, that applies across the board. That's why I teach those principles. The challenge is that people are drowning in information, but they are dying for wisdom. All right, so you at a feast, but you're starving. You know what I'm saying? So people can put things together. Stuff is out there. Information is absolutely out there. So here's the thing. When you ask about this program, right? I don't even publicly just market the program, because what we do at Outstanding Personal Relationships, we focus more on ta'addud or polygyny and really help there. So with the polygamy masterclass or the polygamy boot camp or coaching and stuff like that, we have high level coaching and group. That's what I really focus on. But the reason this came about is because with polygyny, if you're going to do it in a healthy manner, you want to make sure you have enough funds coming in, because there are measurables. First measurable, money. Second measurable, time. Both of those you can clearly measurable, hence, or you can measure, hence why I call it a measurable. And one of the biggest challenges people have, good people have it, everybody has this challenge, but it's finances. You have some that have the finances. They're like, look, I don't want the responsibility that comes with it. There's many other ways to go about certain things. Others are like, look, they're good people. They want to be able to handle it, but they don't have the money to do it in a noble fashion. Now, I'm a strong believer. The Prophet ﷺ praised marriage. He said it's half your deen. And we know that Shaitan's biggest number one thing is to break up a family. Then there's also this other little middle ground, if you will. What happens to the people that stop your family from expanding, or they have an issue there? So if I'm able to help provide a solution, again, the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah Ta'ala loves the one who benefits the most people. Why not do that? So for private clients, what I did was I put together a program that showed them how to monetize their mind, their ideas, to really break into the knowledge commerce industry and profit by creating assets, whether those are digital assets, physical assets like the book here, or digital books, or courses and programs, coaching, whatever, to be able to go ahead and utilize the knowledge and experience that I had and put together over these decades and put something in place now, which is much easier with the help, of course, now of AI. All right. So the reason is to help men who want to practice polygyny in a healthy fashion make more money. Now, did only men take advantage of it? Nope. We have women that take advantage of the course and everything as well. So it's general across the board. It's not only if you want to practice polygyny. That's just a matter that is very important, especially, again, since it's immeasurable. And I wanted to make sure I'm doing the best service I can by amalgamating the knowledge, putting it together step-by-step fashion, and it benefits others by also offering a coaching component with it. It's one thing to just go ahead and buy a program that's on the shelf, or, oh, this is just, go ahead and make some money here. I don't like the make money niche because it's become too cheesy, because there are so many things out there that actually work. You know what I'm saying? In a new world, we get new technology. With every new level comes a new devil. You know what I'm saying? So if you're talking about e-commerce, you're talking about Fulfilled by Amazon, FBA. Are you talking about Shopify stores? E-com works. Not my cup of tea. The margins aren't big enough, but they work, and you can make money in them. You know what I'm saying? You want to make clothes. You want to sell, buy wholesale and sell retail. These things work. There are many things that work. I'm not in there to get sharpened elbows trying to get in the make money market. You're not going to find me with that. Yep, I charge $9.97 currently per hour for consulting, because I know that if I can help you 5x to 10x the results you get, that is absolutely worth it. It doesn't matter the hours that go into something. You want the payoff. So if I can show you something in 7 steps instead of 70 with a whole lot of filler, you're going to get the 7 from me. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's important to make sure you work with somebody who has case studies, who's already been there and done that, who could show it. It's not some fly-by-night thing. And I prefer not having somebody that this is their main business. Listen, I haven't made any money in business, but I'm going to show you how you can make money in business. Because the fact of the matter is, look, if you have a certain skill, you can 10x that by teaching other people how to do it. So if you make $500 on eBay, you can turn that into a business, make $50,000 trying to teach somebody how to make $5,000 extra a month on eBay. It's not hard. I mean, it's relatively simple.
Right.
But see, there's a concept to say you should be temporarily motivated to be permanently lazy. Now, of course, we seek refuge with a lot from being lazy, but I heard this from one of my mentors. And this is what he meant. You could take something one time and sell it over and over and over and over and over again. That's an asset. And again, income follows assets. So if you did produce a course, $200 course, only sell 10 a month, we talking about what, $24,000 a year extra.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's not a lot of money. For some people, it is a lot of money. It's relative, right? But being able to create something that benefits people and impacts them is what makes the difference, at least to me. You just want to make money. There's a lot of ways to make money.
We've seen a lot of courses that promise the world and deliver nothing. This isn't it. We know Coach Nazir personally, and we've seen his results. This 6-week program gives you the tools, the strategy, and the mindset to actually build something that lasts. If you're serious about owning your income, click the link below and check out Make It, Market It, Monetize It. You won't regret it, inshallah. You know that you helped me greatly over the years in establishing my online businesses and giving me some mentorship and direction in doing that. But of course, we entered in a time where a lot of the ideas were fresh, and people have taken these concepts, and some people even feel like they've been scammed in some cases, or people just put a bunch of information together that they got from here and there, and they have no real experience. They just, regurgitating information, and a lot of the stuff people can see it coming. Before, you really couldn't tell what people were doing. Mm-hmm. So you might be watching a series of videos, and then at the end they hooked you, and then he pitch it or whatever. But now you as soon as they start talking, you kind of know where it's going. In some cases, a lot of the material in the early days, and even now, was good information. But now it's like everything is so foggy.
All right. There are 3 types of experts that really exist. The first one is the expert who gets results. That's the results expert. Somebody's been there, done it. Look, you got a 40-inch vertical. I want to learn how to jump like that. Right. Show me how. There are businesses that make millions doing just that. Right. Businesses that make millions teaching people how to jump rope and get in shape. Jumping rope. Right. Serious? Yeah, it exists. Canning foods. Mm-hmm. It exists. Right. Knitting. It exists. None of these are in the make money industry. All right? How to get your image together, how to look good, how to smell good, how to go ahead and craft your beard and everything else and dye. These industries are making millions of dollars. The knowledge commerce industry, people want to know. And if you can do it in a step-by-step manner by providing prolific content that actually helps people, you should be compensated well for that. Mm. And the best part about that is you can do it in a course or a program or group coaching or what have you. That does not mean you're trading your services for dollars and you're limited in scope. Right. That matters. That's the results expert. Right. You don't need any type of special degrees. Tony Robbins empowered many people, actually feeding billions of people with their profits, running multi-billion-dollar no college degree, none of that stuff. Mm-hmm. All right, but he went to Jim Rohn, learned from him as the initial godfather of coaching, if you will. And now Tony Robbins is the #1 life coach in the world. And of course, Brendon Burchard after him. So no special quality. You just need to be able to get some results. All right. Then the second form of expert is the research expert. So when I talked about Napoleon Hill earlier, for example, and taking 20 years to interview the 500 wealthiest people on the planet, and it wasn't background, it wasn't ethnicity, it wasn't schooling. None of these principles really mattered. But he came across with the 13 key principles that did and put them in a book called Think and Grow Rich. All right, again, the original one, because the copyright just run out. That's the research expert. We see it all the time. We see it on podcast. This is an example. You have people coming here from different countries. They're on your podcast. They have different experiences and things like that. You're learning from them. They're learning from you. The audience benefits. We see it on podcasts all the time. Different experts come in. Think about Oprah Winfrey. What is Oprah Winfrey rich for? We don't know. You know what I'm saying? She literally interviewed celebrities and people from different areas, took on different topics, put it out to the world. She took their audiences that followed them and liked the way that she dealt with stuff, monetized. Now she really owns a letter of the alphabet O. All right, or own Oprah Winfrey Network, worth $6 billion. You can't go and say, oh, this is what she did in order to... No, she was a research expert. Getting those people in, getting their perspectives, because that's what matters. That's what matters. So whether it's leadership, you got people on leadership, John C. Maxwell, people, all kinds of different authors, all right, from good to great with James Collins or what have you, all types of stuff on leadership. Their perspective is what matters. Your perspective on Hijrah, my perspective on Hijrah, many of your guests when it comes to Hijrah, what they did. All right, similarly, when it comes to business, right? That's the research expert. Now, you can probably interview people. Your audience can interview people, get a different perspective, provide stuff, how to be a better wife, whatever it may be. That's there. Then there's the role model expert. Somebody who's just a little further ahead than the next person. Somebody wants to know, okay, how do you go ahead and pass this exam to get into this school or to get this degree, or how do you become proficient at this? Or if I'm going to learn how to braid my daughter's hair, use these different styles and stuff, how do you do that? How can I be better at my femininity or masculinity and so on and so forth? You could be a woman that's teaching people how to lose postpartum weight, right? So that's the example of the role model expert. You don't have to know all these types of things and anything else. Those are 3 types of experts. The great part is we get to choose what it is. Maybe it's a passion that people will pay for, right? Now, I don't suggest you just go follow your passion. Sometimes it's just stupid advice. Oh, just monetize this and just follow your passion. It's flowery, You need to really know if there's a market. And really, there's 3 industries, and we're not gonna go into a whole big old training on it, but there's health, wealth, and happiness. Happiness usually includes like relationships and things as well. There are people making millions teaching how to meditate, doing yoga at home, doing Pilates, many of these different types of things. The question is, are you focused on your mind? Getting past the excuses and learning how to do some things. So again, I was taught excuses are poor reasons to be useless. And I'm married and I have children. There's no way I'm gonna look them in their eye and say, yes, all these opportunities were out there, but dad didn't even try. I'm just gonna go ahead and go to work and we're gonna stick here and we're just gonna go ahead and see what happens in the country. Nah. I came across the ayah where Allah Ta'ala says that the angel's gonna ask, was Allah's earth not big enough for you? And that hit me different. Sitting in the Midwest, in a city whose homes are 80% ran by single mothers, and we know the challenges that comes with and it leads to, and Islam is the solution. So to have my children in a better environment gives them a higher likelihood of success. So them learning the Quran right now, being around, having an entirely different cultural experience by being able to travel through these different countries with the benefit of making Hijrah and of the company make Hijrah, allowing us at the same time to benefit from their services means a lot. So what I wanted to do was look, instead of just keeping this as a program for some of my private clients with outstanding personal relationships, is to go ahead and put something together for those who are serious, since that was the number one thing that I had a problem with when it came to me making Hijrah. I need to have this amount of money, but I need to disconnect my money from myself. And that indeed is a blessing. And one of the major things is because of this knowledge commerce industry that we all have access to. So whoever's watching this right now, they're probably watching on a device that's connected to the internet, that has a high quality camera on it, and also a great microphone. And that's enough to start. You don't need a big studio and all kinds of other stuff. Again, that's just an excuse. The main thing is to get started, because you gotta start in order to be great, but you don't have to be great in order to start.
Right. So it took you over 15 years to finally reach a point where you were able to make Hijrah and under your terms. So a person watching might say, so you're telling me that I'm gonna have to spend 15, 20 years in order to get to a point where I'm able to do what you did?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Again, there were other factors in place so far as sickness and dealing with family and so on and so forth, right? So that was one of the main things that kind of held us close, because we were some main caregivers for people outside of my family. And my family was young. Right. But as your children start getting older and teenage years and stuff like that, and different pressures and different challenges in society come in, then it becomes more serious, at least for me as a parent. Right, and I wanted to be that outstanding Muslim parent. I need to make sure I'm doing the best that I can. So instead of staying there, we opted to make Hijrah. So once COVID and everything hit, we like, yo, it's time to go. They don't need to be here, what they're doing and everything else. I mean, people can complain right now about the economy, where today who's in power is Trump. They talking tariffs issues and inflation issues and food and all kind of crime and many of these different challenges that exist that don't exist, at least at the same level where we make Hijrah to a Muslim country. Now, the Muslim country have the same big challenges that the West does. That's really in the belly of the beast. But the difference is you can still have clients in the belly of the beast, or any Western countries that have a higher currency, or utilize those same skills in Muslim countries that have a better economy as well, because you're not limited. So once that global door is open to go ahead and conduct business and do commerce, now it's really looking at, was it Abdullah bin Auf, radiallahu anh, who was like, point me to the souk. And now the souk is global. So point me to the souk.
I've been a developer for 30 years. So because I have that experience, I'm able to give you that 30-year experience in a 1-year program. So I can make the learning curve not as steep.
Mm-hmm.
So the same for this, like you've been doing business, online business for at least 20 years, right?
Almost 30.
Almost 30 years. So that being the case, all of this knowledge and experience, you've packaged it in a program so that a person can take all that experience and utilize that and try to accomplish something in a lot less time.
So we go back first to my first online company, that was Muslim Money Man. So taking my life experiences that we all have, and within 1 year, I was already up and I had clients with Muslim Money Man. Some wanted to learn real estate, some wanted to do coaching, some wanted to invest in gold and silver. So just taking from my personal experience, that was 1 year without AI, all right, without smartphones. You know what I'm saying? That stuff didn't exist back then. I'm literally have a camcorder with some lighting and some things that I'm just trying to figure out. Right now, it's much easier. Meaning you could, when I mentioned you got this smartphone with this audio, with this camera, you can literally host your video for free on YouTube. You can partner with a multi-billion-dollar or trillion-dollar company that's willing to pay you by putting out good content that people watch and keep eyeballs on their website. Just one of the ways to do that is through AdSense. And others get sponsorships, and that's just providing good info. Now, what if you don't want to provide good info? Choose your hard. You know, whether that's narrating something or having a faceless channel, whether that's doing voiceover, there are many different opportunities. So we're not here to convince you of anything. Because like the old saying says, you know, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. But can you go from zero to hero relatively quick? Absolutely. Now, is it going to happen overnight? No, but the great thing about overnight is you can change direction. It still takes some time for a cruise ship to turn around. But if you're going in the right direction, it's going to be a lot faster than you thought. With the help, again, of AI, with what it's doing with images, what it's doing with audio, what it's doing helping set things up. But you have to be that thing, that real human that can touch. So you could be high tech all day, but being high touch and really making an impact, that's where that fulfillment comes from. So if you had to just flake people out, I'm not interested in really helping you. That's not what we're going to do. I mean, your quality of life and satisfaction really comes back to how much you can refuse to do. And we refuse to work with clients all the time. All right, because it's not just about the money. It's really about making an impact and what comes from that. There's many avenues and many things that work with that. As an example, there are Muslims that are doing 7, 8, 9 figures. All right, so there's one brother, alhamdulillah, a good brother, made over 30 million before he was 30 years old. All right, he owns a domain, funnels.com. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels.com, but he couldn't get funnels.com because a Muslim brother already owned it. And his Muslim brother, Shakir Hussein, you know, hafidhullah, actually consults Russell Brunson. All right, Russell Brunson is one of his clients. So doing very well online and empowering many other people and have many different programs. And again, many of these programs work. But here's the deal. It's not whether or not the program will work. It's whether or not you will work. And I'm going to tell you one question that really motivated me that one of my mentors came and he asked me. There was a trip to either Oklahoma or Las Vegas or something for this international convention with this home-based business I was a part of, right? So I didn't have enough money. I'm like, man, I'm not really sure if I'm going to go. You know, I don't really have the money for this. I need the hotel money. I need the transportation money and all kinds of stuff, right? And I'm complaining to him, and he was like, okay, well, you know, you can focus on the solution to the problem. Because winners are going to find a way, losers are going to find an excuse. He said, but can I ask you a question, Nadir? And I'm like, yeah, what's up? He said, look, how old are you? I told him my age, and I'm like mid-20s or whatever. He said, okay, so you're mid-20s. How long you been working? How long you been married? He said, you don't have this amount of money. It was less than $1,000. Less than $1,000 to go ahead and go this whole trip and all this stuff for 3 days, less than $1,000. He said, you don't have that? He said, I'm gonna tell you something. I don't know what you're gonna do in life. I suggest this. However, you need to recognize that what you're doing right now ain't working. That's something to be told as a grown man. That what you're doing ain't working. You married, got a family, working this amount of years, and you ain't got less than $1,000 to go ahead and invest in yourself and your family to change things around. Needless to say, I found the money and everything else, had some great success in the company and so on and so forth. Struggles all the way through it. That's part of the process. That's part of life. You got struggle, then you got progress. The whole story of the seerah, the Prophet ﷺ, struggle, progress. That's our life. That's the way things are.
Right.
But he asked me that, and as a grown man, you got to swallow. You got to take that like, now, that been somebody off the street. You know what I'm saying? It's different. But he was pushing me and motivating me towards what I said I wanted. And alhamdulillah, that was really the start of a whole different world, because it showed me that it's not about your resources. It's about your resourcefulness. And if you are resourceful and you're serious and not just curious and you want to do better, then bet on you. Invest in yourself. Tie your camel and trust in Allah Ta'ala.
No.
Don't just wish, because a wish changes nothing, but a decision changes everything. That's a quote that I use quite frequently. People wish all the time, wish I had them do that, and talk themselves into nothingness and then complain and then should all over themselves. I coulda, shoulda, woulda, I shoulda did this, I saw this, I said, ooh, when Bitcoin was $7, shoulda did this. When the stimulus checks came in, I shoulda. Stop shoulding all over yourself. Take some action to execute. All right, do the work that's necessary for the success.
Right.
And it's likely to happen. Because what's guaranteed is if you don't do it, it's not. Mm-hmm. So that's really kind of my final message with it. One of the reasons I help people is because, one, representation matters. And if people are building families, which are going to be building healthy spouses and healthy children and stuff like that, one of the most important things that's going to fund all of that is their finances. Coming back to faith, family, and finances. That part is going to hit every other part of your life. There's two things that are going to impact your life more than anything else. The first is your deen. The second is your money. So if I have the ability to empower people and to do something like that, I want that to continue to stack up after I'm gone. I want to be in du'as on different continents from people that I don't even know that I will see, inshallah ta'ala, on Yom Al-Qiyamah or in my grave. That's one of the main reasons and intentions that we do this. And of course, to be able to invest in generations whom I will never meet.
Alhamdulillah, we'd like to thank Brother Nadir for coming on and talking about his experience as an online entrepreneur. Online business is not for everyone. It's something that you would have to have a genuine interest in. If you don't have an interest, then you'll probably be unsuccessful. Most courses are not magic pills that are going to give you the success just by purchasing the course. You actually have to do the work. And on top of that, you have to have the drive to see it all the way through. With this course, you not only get recorded lessons, you also get personalized coaching from Coach Nazir himself. We've also added as a bonus our course called the Hijrah Blueprint, and you would have access to this before it's made public. If this subject is something that interests you, click the link in the description and get started today.